So
dues.
talk about the dues, because that is one thing that like I know a lot of people have questions about is, so what are they? I mean, I understand what they are, but like how would you describe them? And they do vary. Like we have seen, obviously you were talking about the places there, and then the cabins, the Fort Wilderness cabins, those are higher than some of the other ones as well. So it does vary, but like what are they, and why would they vary necessarily for like the cabins versus like just the regular hotel?
So our annual dues are our maintenance fees. So if anybody lives where there's like an HOA, it's similar to that. So they cover things like resort maintenance, if your resort is undergoing refurbishment, transportation, administrative costs. They're just like basically the operating expense of whatever resort you own at, you are responsible to help pay for. So they do change every year. They typically increase from like 3 to 8% every year. It just kind of depends. The older resorts you'll see have a little bit higher dues just because they are older buildings, so they require a little bit more maintenance. And the beach resorts are prone to storms, so they also have higher annual dues just because, you know, they're constantly repairing or insurance is going up, things like that. So I think what's happening with the cabins at Fort Wilderness and maybe why their dues are so high is because they are standalone structures. Like they're not rooms in like a hotel building. So maybe DVC is thinking they're going to be a little bit more prone to, if we have a hurricane and like a tree falls over, like that could cause a lot more damage. Housekeeping is going to be a big expense there because they're standalone units that allow pets. So you're going to be cleaning up after pets. And pets, even the most well-behaved ones, if you leave them in the room, they might cause a little bit of damage. So they have to fix that. And then Fort Wilderness has kind of a similar problem as Old Key West and Saratoga, where it relies entirely on bus transportation, which is really expensive because you have to have buses running through the resort constantly. So like Old Key West, I think our highest expense is transportation because it's a big resort and it only uses buses. So I think that's why theirs are so high.
Funny enough, I do know about Old Key West is that resort was not meant to have buses when they built it, because you can see when you
can tell.
Oh yeah, it's those. I've seen some bus drivers in there. I'm like, oh my gosh, like the way they do that. It's I would not want to be
tight turns.
I would not want to be a bus driver in Old Key West. But yeah, that if you've ever been there, you can tell really quickly that buses do go through there, but it is not. They weren't designed for it. I'll put it that way. So
definitely not.
Now, is there a cap on? So you're talking about the dues increase. So this would be if people are looking at doing this. You obviously have your cost of your contract, but the dues are something you don't have a lot of control over. Is there a cap on how much they can increase that per year, or is that just completely out of your control?
It's kind of completely up to DVC. If property taxes go up in Florida, that affects dues. If your resort is one of the hurricane prone ones that got some damage, your dues might go up a little more than you thought the next year. I know Old Key West, I started out pretty low with dues. I think I started at like $7.50 a point. I now pay almost $10 per point because over the years, Old Key West has gotten a full refurbishment and it has a lot of landscaping and there's the golf course. So it's kind of out of your control. You can plan for it a little bit, but there have been some years where it's been like a bigger jump than others.
Right. Okay. So when they let you know that they're going up, is it just it shows up on like your invoice or however, or do they like give you like, 30-day, 60-day notice or something like that?
So they're pretty good at letting us know. I don't know for a lot of people if it's a great time frame that they let us know. But usually by the second week of November, they put out projected dues for the following year. And then the dues get voted on at the annual condo association meeting, which is usually the first week of December. So by the end of that meeting, we know what our dues are going to be for the following year. And then you have until, if you choose to pay them in one lump sum at the beginning of the year, you have until January 15th to pay them. Or if you do monthly payments, which is what I choose to do, your payments will start on January 15th.
It's so crazy. I see all these people that have like multiple contracts, like thousands of points. And I'm like, how much are you paying in dues every year? Like, it's insane.
Well, I guess that's a good question. How much? So one thing, I guess, before I forget about it. So there is like you said there's an association. So technically, if, let's say Disney got real aggressive, that potentially could be curbed by that vote. And they would say you can't. So you do have a little bit of like a guardrail there, perhaps, because it's voted on, you said?
So the condo association is somewhat of a formality.
Okay, that's what I was kind of wondering.
Like as members, we don't have like a vote. We have someone on the condo association who is like a representative of members. I mean, people get upset every year when annual dues come out because nobody likes to see the price of things increase.
Right.
A lot of folks call it a cure against adding on points because once you get that bill, you're like, ooh, I don't need any more. But I've never heard of it where the members got so angry at an increase that DVC backed off. Like, I think people just expect, like, okay, they're going to go up this year. Like, it stinks, but they're going to go up.
So you're saying they need to stage a revolt. That's what you're saying. Okay. No, I'm just kidding.